data is saying that people aren't taking my advice. So that's why I'm coming to you specifically pleading and explaining this thing as best I know how, so you guys can start being the ones that take advantage of this. For today, my biggest thing that I want to get across to you guys is wisdom. You go look at Big Mama, whatever you call your grandma. If you notice, older people, they're a lot more even keeled, right? They don't really stress on a lot of things. You know why? Because they have experience. They've seen a lot of things. Now, let's talk about what makes them wise. What makes them wise is not the fact that through their life journey and experience, they've learned the right things to do, but it's the complete opposite. Grandma or Big Mama didn't seen when such and such tried something and went to jail. Don't want to do that. They seen when this person tried this, it didn't work out for them. Don't do that, right? And it's through all of these failed experiments that they've seen that they become wise. But what are they becoming wiser of? They're becoming wiser of what not to do, okay? There's nobody telling them what you need to do. They're finding out what not to do, and that is what makes them wise, okay? It's not from understanding what to do, it's from understanding what not to do. So if you want to come up in this field, if you want to understand a concept better, if you want to understand a concept more thoroughly, the key is not from your traditional mindset, tell me what I need to know. It's more like, tell me what I don't want to do. And the collection of that is going to then make me understand what to do. And not only what to do, but why. The why is important. If I gave you all of the answers, but I didn't tell you why, are you really wise? No, you're not. You've just been privy to some information that helps give you an advantage, but are you wiser because of that? No, you're only wise because of the information that you know that doesn't work, okay? So that's the biggest takeaway I want you guys to understand, because when you go through IPBC, you're gonna constantly want the answer, want the solution. But understand that in order for us to get to the goal of making you self-sufficient, it's not on us to teach you what to do, but instead teach you what not to do, so then you can understand what to do and understand why you should do it. The why is important. You can't understand the why by just getting the information. The why comes from failed solutions, failed chances, places where you flawed. That's where the why comes from. And you can't be wise without the advantage and the why. The why comes from the negativity. The why comes from the mistakes, okay? So if you figure out what all not to do, is the sooner you figure out what you should do. When we're talking about project work, okay? Getting through your project, the biggest challenge that I have with the program is changing you guys' way of thinking. We grow up in a learning environment that I call old school. Old school is the teacher gets up, teaches a lesson, you do homework. If you have questions, you ask the teacher. That teacher is like the messiah, okay? The teacher has all the answers because they've seen all of the scenario, okay? Any question that you have, the teacher has an answer for it. So they are your source of knowledge and they are your source of correction should you have problems with the knowledge. So I get it. That's how we've been taught. That's what we're used to. That's what we expect. However, I'm trying to get you guys to think differently. I'm trying to get you guys to take it to the next level. And to take it to the next level, we can no longer follow that process. When you talk about the first 3 months of the course, yes, we follow that because that is what everyone's used to. We have our instructor-led training. You go through, the instructor delivers the message. You learn. If you have questions, you ask questions, okay? But then at each phase of the program that you go through, we kind of take the training wheels off a little bit more, okay? When you get to IPBC, it's more self-paced. Now we're asking more out of you. Now you could be in the class, pay attention a little bit, have some good friends, and make it through. But when it's self-paced, if you're not the main character, if you're not putting in the work, it's kind of hard to kind of wing your way through, okay? It puts a lot of responsibility on your part. And then when you get to the project work, guys, when you get to your project, that is the ultimate test of what you've learned thus far in Colaberry, okay? Because now you're tasked with creating an entire project. Not only that, you're going to be asked to do a lot of things that you've never done before in a tool that's fairly new to you, okay? And so from my perspective, everyone that joins your tier 2 tool should be able to use the system to grow and learn. If you get to your project and you're still in the mindset of, I need a teacher to teach me, I need a person that has the end-all be-all questions and answers, then you're going to go wrong. Just like if you go on the job with that mentality, you're going to be wrong, okay? Because things don't work like that anymore. For example, in the old system, they create textbooks, okay? These textbooks take like a year or 2 to create, and then they stay in existence for a good 3, 4, 5 years, okay? You guys should know by now that things are changing way more rapidly now. So a textbook that's 3 to 4 years old is not gonna provide you, it's all old information. And sometimes that's cool, but in technology, things are constantly changing. So relying on information 3 to 4 years old is not gonna do you well in technology. It may do you well if you're trying to become a lawyer, because these laws have been in the books for years. They're not changing. And if they change, they don't change as rapidly. So if I'm trying to study to become a lawyer, these textbooks are gonna really do a good job at helping me. If I'm trying to be in technology where things are changing rapidly, a textbook is not gonna help me as much, okay? And by that same notion, an instructor is not gonna have all of the answers, okay? Just because I'm in technology, just because I work in a certain tool, that does not mean I have all of the answers. I know everything that you can do with that tool. So you trying to take the old system, which is taught by one person, maintained by one person, all of the answers cleared up by one person, that mentality is not going to help you as much in technology because number one, the textbooks are old. Number two, there's not one person out there that's seen every scenario. There's just too many scenarios. And that is the reason we have to change the way we have to change our approach, okay? What you're really going up against is textbook versus internet. Okay, internet gets updated daily, hourly, every minute. There's updates on the internet. Textbook gets changed every few years. Okay, data is omnipresent. Okay, it's going, it's changing, it's adapting. It's always moving. So what we need to do as part of this program is we need to change the way we're thinking, change our approach from this old system where there's this messiah at the top that knows all of the answers. Hell, I've been in the field 20 years. I don't know all of the scenario, okay? I can't walk you through every single scenario you've had, even with 20 years of experience, because technology is always changing. It could be something new that I haven't been privy to, okay? So get out of your mind that there's this one person that has all of the answers. Instead, we gotta change our philosophy to adapt. And that's been one of the hardest things for me to get across to you guys and all of the people that are taking this program, because you come in with the mindset of the teaching model, which you've grown to know, and that's all you know. I get it. I get why you're thinking that way. But what I'm trying to tell you is we have to adjust that, okay? Now, how do we adjust that? So for those of you who have not seen my post, I advise you, if you want to get through this process faster, then take some time and go through it, because you guys got to realize this is a thinking job. This is a thinking career. Okay? Your mindset before was, I work on it, I put the time on it, I finish it faster, I'm done. That's not the case here. Your one project that you're creating, or one personal project, you guys are also working on your internship project, even two projects is not going to give you all of the scenarios that you need to really learn the tool. Just two projects, that's nothing. Two projects is nothing, okay? You could complete your whole project and still not even touch a lot of scenarios that could possibly happen. Instead, what we want to do is we want to use the multitude of projects, we want to use the multitude of students that we have to get everyone up to speed faster. Now, you guys see on my critiques, I tell people that come in, you come in, you got stress test one. Stress test one's pretty simple. You're just finding the data set, KPI. Stress test two is where the challenge really comes in, because you have no idea, except for the basics, how to use this tool. Okay, all you have is the basic, and you're trying to get to an experience level. So how do you get from basic level to experience level? This is where it gets tricky, because it goes against your current mindset. From your thought process, the way you get through the project faster is you work on that project and then you get through it. Therefore, what I have is a lot of people, when I critique, they're like, okay, I made those changes, now what's next? You're living in the old world where you're waiting for the instructor to fix all of your problems. You're waiting for them to correct all of your assignments. That's the old way. Now let's think about what the old way provides us. Let's say if I was critiquing 5 times a day, all day long, all I did was critique. And you were like, I'm fast. I'm turning in the assignment. As soon as he critiques it, I turn in my assignments. He critiques it more. I get those fixes in, and then I finish my project fast. That's not good enough. Just your one project is not enough experience for you to get to where you want to be, to where you can move on to a job and be well aware of a multitude of scenarios, and not just the scenarios that you encountered on your one project. Now, hear me out, guys. Like really listen to me, because this is very important, because I'm trying to get you guys to understand that you can learn at an exponential rate, but you have to go away from your current thinking, okay? Just like as you've gone through this program, you've learned some things that have kind of changed your strategy of thinking, and it's made you more efficient, it's made you better at what you do, and it's made you closer into achieving this American dream that you're trying to get. But there's some tricks in there, there's some things that don't go with traditional thinking. This is one of them, okay? So even if you go through, you're answering my critiques 2 hours later, and you make it all the way through your project, you still do not have enough knowledge to move on. You only have knowledge of your one project. Now, how do we accelerate that? We have to use the data of all of the people, okay? I always tell you guys, the biggest benefit you'll get to the Colaberry program is the network, because the power is in the numbers, the power is in the data, okay? You don't have enough time to learn all of the scenarios yourself. You just don't have enough time. Okay, you want to get into the field as fast as possible. We want to get you into the field as fast as possible. The field wants you as fast as possible, but you got to be ready, okay? You can't go into the field if you don't understand all of the different scenarios and how to navigate through them, because it's only a matter of time before you're going to get tasked with that. And wouldn't you rather be ready for the task instead of hurry up, let me get in there. And then when I get in there, I get a challenge and I have no idea how to figure it out. Okay, I think I know the answer to that. You guys want to be ready, right? So if we want to be of the caliber of someone with 3 to 5 years experience, then we need to see 3 to 5 years worth of project. There's no shortcut around that. You finishing your personal project in record time does not put you at the level of 3 to 5 years of experience just because you finished one project in record time. It doesn't get you to where you need to be. Just your project alone does not get you to where you need to be. You need 3 to 5 years experience before you hit the market. You're not going to get that with just your personal project, okay? You have to accept that. Our transition to making you, like, my definition of success for you guys in this program is not just getting a job. If I could just stick you on any job, that's not a definition of success for me. Getting you on a job and then you being self-sufficient enough to where when you're tasked with obstacles, you're able to think them through and figure them out. That's my definition of success. So I'm not only trying to get you to a job, I'm trying to get you to a job that you can actually do. Not saying you won't have struggles, you will have struggles, but can you figure it out? Can you work your way through it? If you can't do that, that's not a win for me. That's not a win for you. That's not a win for anybody. You got to not only get onto the job, but be self-sufficient enough to be able to problem solve your way through that job, okay? And then as time goes on, and as you do that enough, then you'll feel like you're ready to be there. You'll feel in a good place, okay? I think that's what we both want. Our goals are aligned, okay? So if you look at the structure of our program, here we're trying to weed you off of that line of thinking, okay? We start off with what you know, which is the classroom assignments. That's the first 3 months. That's what you know. That's what you're used to. So that's what we start with, okay? You got the instructor, the be-all, end-all, the know-all. You go into the first 3 months thinking the instructor has all the answers. Okay, and we can do that because the assignments are structured. Okay, we already know what's going to happen in these projects. We've done them over and over again. So for that scenario, yeah, we can have an instructor that knows everything, the TAs, they understand all of the situations, but understand that's a structured environment. That's not a real environment where anything can happen. Okay, we already know what the problems are going to be in the first 3 months projects because we've had thousands of people do them. We already know this is where you get stuck. If this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do this. We got all of the scenarios played out. But understand that can't happen in a real world scenario because in a real world scenario, there are unlimited things that can happen. No one person can prepare you for every single scenario that's going to happen. So instead, you have to prepare someone to be able to fend for themselves. And that's what our goal is. So when you get to IPBC, we take the training wheels off. Okay, now you are you're not fully on your own. Okay, you have guidance, but you're responsible for getting all of your tasks done. You got a set of tasks, you're responsible, and here we don't have the classes. So now you have to be a little bit more self-sufficient, okay? Now, step 3 is where basically we're trying to teach you how to live out in the wild. You ever seen those shows on like Netflix? They're like, or Hulu, where those people go out in the wild and they go out and live out there. They build a shelter. They got to do their own fire. They got to go and fish and find food and survive, right? So that's what step 3 is about teaching you how to survive on your own, become self-sufficient. And a big part of that is what we call reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is a process or method through which one attempts to understand through deductive reasoning how a previous made device, process, system, or piece of software accomplishes a task with very little, if any, insight into actually how it does so. If I ask you to produce a report or a chart and you have no idea how to produce that, and I say, hey, go look at this, this has already been done before, this has already been figured out, you should be able to look at that, study it, analyze it, whatever you do, and then figure out how to incorporate that in your project. It is essentially the process of opening up or dissecting a system to see how it works in order to duplicate or enhance it. Depending on the system under consideration and the technologies employed, the knowledge gained during reverse engineering can help with repurposing obsolete objects, doing security analysis, or learning how something works. So if I give you a solution, it may not be with your data set, but if I give you a solution, you should be able to analyze that enough to figure out how to incorporate that into your solution, okay? Because when you get into the field, you can have one person, let's say you do get a hold of somebody. Let's say they do wrap their head around your problem and help you fix it. Next time you need help, that person has to do the same exact thing. Wrap their head around it, figure out what your problem is, and then come up with a solution. So the same thing that you're gonna have to figure out, that person's gonna have to figure out. And there's no person that just has seen every scenario, okay? So when you get to step 3 in becoming self-sufficient, you have your project. I say, hey, your project needs X, Y, Z. Your first thought process is, man, I've never heard of that before. I've never seen that before. I don't know what I need to do. Okay, great. Now you're in a situation where you're gonna be at your job. You're gonna be on your job and your manager is gonna say, hey, I want X, Y, Z. And your first thought process is gonna be like, oh shit, I've never done that before. Okay, cool. What step 3 or what phase 3 is designed to do is make you cool in those situations. That is not a time for panic. That is a time for me to calm down, find my woosah, and start to problem solve. Okay? I need to start using all my resources to find the answer because I understand not one person is going to have all the answers. I need to Google search. That's where you're going to find probably 75% of your answers, if not more, is a Google search. Someone has gone through your particular situation, maybe not that exact situation, but they'll have a solution that you may have to reverse engineer into your project to figure out what helped them with their solution, figure out how to reverse engineer that to help you with your solution, okay? So you have Google, you have Colaberry chat, you have your study groups and different people that you're involved with, okay? You don't know where you're gonna get the answer from. You just have to be resourceful enough to keep on going until you figure out the answer. And that's what being on your job is like. You're not gonna have one person that you can call as soon as you get a problem and they got the answer for you. That's not gonna happen, okay? You gotta use all of the skills that you've learned throughout the entire program to get ready to this point where somebody can ask you something you've never seen before and you can not only figure it out, but get it done. When you get to that point, that's why they pay you the big money, because they can task you with something that you have no idea about, and then you can turn around and implement that. That is what you're getting paid for, okay? So stop thinking that somebody has to have all of the answers. No, that's what you're getting paid for, is to figure it out, is to do that research, is to use your resources, is to reverse engineer other solutions that you found and incorporate them in your project, okay? That's what you're getting paid to do. And no institution is going to be able to provide all of that for you for every scenario that you're gonna go. So you have to become self-sufficient. okay? And that's why at every stage of the program, we take a little bit of the training wheels off, a little bit of the training wheels off. Because if you're not becoming self-sufficient through this process, then we're failing you, okay? Because you're gonna get onto your job and you're not gonna know what to do, or you're not gonna be able to keep up. And that doesn't do anyone any good, okay? Now you're struggling for your job, all right? But understand that to get you to that, you gotta kind of change your way of thinking, okay? Now, most of you guys have been in scenarios where you're going back and forth with me on the critiques. And I ask you to do something, and then sometimes I just see such rookie mistakes that I'm like, man, if this person went through a couple of projects that I've already critiqued, they would find half of their issues. But you're still in the mindset of, let me get through this one project so I can move on to the next step. But I'm telling you that just your one project and making it through is not enough to learn all of the scenarios that you need to learn, okay? Let me break down the facts, okay? I've been critiquing projects. I've been the sole person critiquing projects. I will hire a team, and there will be other people that critique process, but this part of the process is so important, so crucial, and the people doing it need to have such great data skills that I don't feel comfortable giving this task to somebody else quite yet, okay? It's a lot to direct a project. It's a lot to guide person into creating these projects. And I need to fully understand the process before I start hiring other people to do it, because I need to make sure it works the same way as it works when I'm doing it. So I always tell people, if I see somebody just kind of throw together a dashboard real quick, you just learn Power BI, I get it. You throw something together, whip a few charts on there, and then send me a critique. I'm like, man, there's so many problems with this project that I could go on all day. My job as a critiquer is not to teach you every single mistake. That's the old way of thinking, okay? You have this end-all be-all person that has all of the answers and that needs to teach you every single thing. Remember, we got to throw away that thinking. I'm not there for that, okay? I'm there to make sure your project has met all of the standards and is ready to get displayed in your route to a job. So don't look for me to point out every single problem on your project, because it's going to take months for me to teach you all of the lessons, okay? I've already spent the past 2 years critiquing project after project after project. And when I say you guys make the same mistakes, you guys make the same mistakes, okay? Every problem that you're gonna have with your project has already happened to somebody. Fact one, there are 62 approved Power BI projects for stress test 2. 62 of them. Let's just open up the report so I can show you guys. And this is just looking at the data, guys. All right, this is not a matter of opinion. This is the actual data. All right, so 351 stress tests overall. Average approval days for each stress test is 14 days. Average number of comments on a stress test is 10 comments. The average number of critiques per stress test is 3, okay? Stress test 1, there's 160 of them. Stress test 2, there's 78 of them. Stress test 3, 73. Stress test 4, 21. Stress test 5, 19 of them. If I just want to look at all of the stress tests too, I can click on this 78 right here, this icon right here, and it's going to filter my report by just stress test 2. So if you're on stress test, whatever stress test you're on, you can simply just click on it and it's going to filter by all of those stress tests. Now notice there's different center of excellence, right? There's data science, There's data warehousing, there's internship projects, there's Power BI, there's Tableau, there's Click, okay? So now, if I click on stress test 2, that's showing me all the stress tests 2 for each group. So if I'm in data warehousing, I'm gonna look at these. If I'm in internship, I can look at these projects. Power BI, of course, we have the most. Here's all of the projects. All right. Now, approval days. This is the last project that's been approved for stress test 2. So whatever's been approved latest is at the top. Always have the most current project at the top. Okay, but look at the data. It took 48 days from the start of this project to get approval, just for stress test 2. Almost 50 days, guys, 50 days. Now, really good project, 50 days spent, that's a lot of time. You know how many lessons they learned throughout that 50 days? 70 total comments, 20 critiques, and it was approved 12 days ago. It was critiqued by me, and here's the part, 6 clicks. If I click on this project right here, that's a click. If I come to this report and I look at these projects and I click on them, that's gonna put a 1 in here. Somebody else clicks on it, that's gonna put a 2 right here. So I can see the number of people that have come through here, actually looked at the stress test, clicked on it, and then read through it. Here's the life expectancy. Here's the project. Click on see previous comments. Okay, started on August 18th, all right? And you can see our back and forth. If you just read through my critiques, kind of understand the thought process. Oh, don't use these rounded out borders. Okay, if you got rounded out borders on your project, take them off. Top right should drill down the country. Why should this drill down the country? Right, like analyze it. Okay, this is, okay, it's at the continent level, but you wanted to drill down. So I click, click on there and it drills down the country. Okay, I could understand that. Year should be a slider. Okay, they have year here, looks better as a slider. Okay, and then you can see, okay, once they follow my critiques, here's the changes that they made. Here's my drill down on country. Okay, and then you keep going through and you just like live in the project. Okay, look, watch this person's progress, what they're going through. Watch what I'm telling them. Because they made the same mistakes that you make on your project. Okay, bam, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, I'm giving them more. Look at the top right chart. Each bar should represent year over year. Now you look at what they produced. Okay, not quite right. But you following the progress. You following my critiques, their response. My critiques, their response. But more than that, you're living through 48 days. 48 days of back and forth, okay? You know how much your knowledge expands just by going through this project? You shouldn't have to feel like, man, I gotta start over from scratch. I don't know this tool. I don't know what I can do in this tool. I guarantee if you go over 5 to 10 projects, you will get a better understanding of what not to do, okay? To become wise, a wise person doesn't understand all the right things to do. They understand all of the things not to do, okay? When you understand what you don't want, that's when you truly understand what you do want. Okay, for example, if you go into a relationship and you say, what do you want out of a partner? Well, if you're new to a relationship, you're gonna say something basic like, I want somebody to treat me good. Okay, then you go through an abusive relationship where you got somebody hitting on you. So after that relationship, somebody asks you, hey, what do you want in a relationship? Well, I want someone that doesn't put their hands on me. You see, you couldn't get to that specificity until you understood what you didn't like You had to understand what the problem was before you could understand that I want to be treated in a way where you're not putting your hands on me. You couldn't understand how you wanted to be treated until you could see how you did not want to be treated. So if you take that philosophy and you apply it to learning anything, then your goal would be to find out all of the things that you do not want to do, all of the problems, all of the no-goes. If you figure out, like, your thought process is, I need to figure out all of the things that I want. That's how you think. But reality is you have to find out all of the things that you don't want, all of the things that don't work in order for you to see what you truly want. Same thing applies here. In order for you to know what a good dashboard or a good project looks like, I can't just tell you, oh, you should build charts like this. But if I come to you and I say, don't build a chart like this, then you have a better understanding of what a good chart looks like by me telling you what not to do versus me telling you what to do. If I tell you what to do, you have no reason, you have no understanding of why I'm telling you that. Okay, build your charts like this. Well, why? Until you understand the why, understanding the good doesn't do you any good. You got to understand why not to do it, and then it gives you purpose when you understand what you should do. Okay, so long story short is I'm telling you, if you want to learn more, you have to figure out what not to do, not what to do. Okay, and so you look at these projects, 22 days, 83 days, 34 days, 36 days. You guys, if you come in and you go look at, you don't look at any of this data, then this is how long it's going to take you to get through these stress tests, right? Who wants to spend 100 days on stress test 2? That's still, you still got stress test 1, stress test 3, 4, and 5. You guys don't want to spend that long. I don't want you to spend that long. 188 days. The ridiculousness. But this is how it happens when you don't know what you're doing. Now, from you guys' perspective, you don't have to worry about that. That's why we have the Center of Excellence. And let me show you how you can improve. If I go through this project, I read it from start to finish, 48 days, 22 days, 83 days, 34 days. I'm now learning what it took someone 200 days, or what it took a multitude of people 200 days to figure out. I'm now able to do that within a few hours. Think of the lessons that you will learn just by going through that. And the things that you're learning what not to do. Oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And all you have to do is compare it to your project, go through that project, make the changes on your project because you already know what not to do by going through these projects. And the idea here is each new project should lessen the approval days. Okay, the first projects, I get why they take a long time. Okay, it's new, it's you learning, okay? But now, with the new process that we've implemented, which we can look at this life expectancy report, okay? When you finish your stress test 2, and you've gotten it approved, or what used to be approved, then I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you these instructions on, all right, right here. So basically, for each project, each part of your dashboard, okay? And Craig did a good job, so I want to use this as an example. Okay. So first off, you start with, if you have Power BI, you start off with the project. Okay, this is what you're going to build. Okay. Step 1 is, where's your data set? Okay, here's my data set. You have a picture, you have step-by-step instructions, and then you have a GIF. Okay? Step 2, tweaking the data. You have your screenshot, you have your step-by-step, and then you have your GIF. So if I'm looking through a project and I read through this entire project, not only am I going to understand their mindset as they work through the project, but if I scroll all the way to the end of the project, I can actually follow everything. So let's say I'm looking at this project and I'm like, man, I really want to understand how to do a map like this. Okay? And I'm working on another project and I want to figure out how to do a map like this for my project. This is where we get to the reverse engineering, because all I got to do is go to this map. Okay, let me find the screenshot that has them doing the map. Okay, right here, map visual, step 12. Here's my step-by-step. Here is my screenshot showing how to build the map using the step-by-step instructions. So you coming into Power BI brand new, you know you want to build a map, you go find a project with a map that you like, and then you scroll down and you look at the step-by-step instruction on how to build it. Now, how much does that accelerate your learning process? If you can go find a project that already has the feature that you want to add to yours, now you got to go look at him do it in their project and reverse engineer it into your project. How much time are you saving by knowing exactly what you want and then having the step-by-step instructions to do that? Okay? So now, as you come in and Ali gives you a critique and he says, oh, I want you to build this, this waterfall chart. Okay? Of course, you have different measures, but this is showing you, explaining to you, and then walking you through how to build this exact thing. So now you just have to reverse engineer it to your KPIs and then figure out how to follow these steps to implement it on your project. Okay? So now with these pieces, we should start seeing these numbers go down because you don't have to figure everything out for yourself. You use the projects before you to set the blueprint out. That's why we call it the Center of Excellence. Okay? You use these projects, and when you are able to use those, it should not take you as long to create the projects. So the speed at which you go through this, and I've already seen it proven, guys. I've seen people that go through and read through several projects before. You know what? It takes less than half of the critiques that it takes someone who's just sitting around waiting for my answer. My message to you, and here's the numbers right here, right? So I've been telling people, hey, go through and click on these projects. There's 62 approved stress test tools in Power BI. Takes an average of 30 days. Okay? If you don't want to spend 30 days just for stress test 2, and you want to get through it like more like 10 to 15 days, then I'm giving you the blueprint of how to do that. You got to learn all of the things not to do. And you do that by going through the projects. Okay? So 30 approval days, 11 critiques. So about 3 days per critique. That gives you time to do the critique and submit it. It gives me time to grade it. But 3 days every critique. And only at this point when I created this post, 18 people had clicked on it. 18 people. Out of all the people that are doing projects, nobody is following my advice. And what happens? That means it continues to take you guys longer to get through the project. Okay, you can go through 10 to 20 projects. The same time y'all sitting there like, why Ali ain't grading my project? Why Ali ain't critique my project? You could take that time that you waiting and you can learn 10 times the information that I'm gonna give you on your next critique. 10 times the information that I'm gonna give you on your next critique. You have control over that. Okay, don't sit around and wait for the Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, when you have the internet. Through this setup, you have direct control over your experience, learning, speed. Okay, I repeat, you have the control. Okay, stop talking about Ali's not critiquing, Ali waited 2 days. I don't want to hear it. The program is not set up for me to be the teacher teaching you all the lessons. It's not set up like that. We're playing chess, not checkers. Okay? I get that you come in and your mindset is checkers. I get it. I'm trying to reverse that. And the sooner you take my advice, the sooner you can move through this thing faster. I'm not trying to keep you on this step. My goal, rather, is to make sure that when you move on to the job, you have the tools that you need to be successful. That's my mission, guys. Okay, whether that takes 30 days or 90 days, I don't care. I want it to take 30. I don't want it to take 90, but if it takes 90 and you get to that job and you know what you're doing, mission accomplished. But with that 90-day threshold, I'm also looking at that saying, how can we get it down to 30? And so that's my purpose of this discussion today, is because I want you guys to understand that there is a route for you to get through this faster, but you have to go against your traditional thinking in order to capitalize on it. Okay? And then think about this. The more projects that go through this process, the smarter we will all keep getting, right? Somebody else comes through and they build a chart that nobody's seen before. Guess what? We all got a link to that project. We can go look at the step-by-step instructions of how they created that. That's no longer a problem for anybody in the Center of Excellence. Once one person's figured thing out, we can now use that as a reference, and we don't have to keep, and a whole bunch of people don't have to learn the same lesson. We share knowledge here. But we can share all the knowledge we want, but if you're not using it, then it doesn't do you any good. And right now, people aren't using the knowledge that is there. And I'm here to tell you, use it. I'm pleading with you guys. I know you want to get done with your projects faster. I know you want to move on to your job faster. I'm telling you exactly how to do it. I've structured the entire program to tell you how to do that, but I'm telling you right now, the data is saying that people aren't taking my advice. So that's why I'm coming to you specifically pleading and explaining this thing as best I know how, so you guys can start being the ones that take advantage of it. And I will continue getting the message out. I need you guys to lead by example, so I can say, look at what Yama did. She went through these projects. Look how fast she completed her project. And then other people will start coming on. But I need you guys to go ahead and take the initiative and then go ahead and do it. Okay, it's going to help you out, and it's going to help the program out. And all your friends and family, when you recommend them after you get placed and they come through the program, guess what? When they get to Power BI, they get to data warehousing, they're going to catch up to you within weeks. They will catch up to your level because they have all of these resources and they have the data. And that's the goal of this. Okay, the goal is when you get to the Center of Excellence, I need you to get to the edge of technology, meaning you're able to use everything that this tool has to offer, but you don't have to get 2, 3, 4 years of experience before you can do it. You should be able to do it in a few weeks by using the hundreds of people and the weeks and months and years of other people going through figuring things out. You take that data and you shorten the time it takes you to learn. That's what the Center of Excellence is about. Okay, it's about taking the group and us learning together. A couple of projects that did follow my instructions. Look at this. 11 days to approval, 16 days to approval. Wouldn't you guys like to have numbers like that? Only 5 critiques, only 8 critiques here. Ain't nobody even clicked on the project. This was me. I clicked on this project. I'm the only person that clicked on this project. 11 days. Nobody's clicked on it. All right. And so now I've been working with Kofi to figure out how we could speed up the process even more. So now after stress test 2, just like I showed you with the life expectancy project, once you get stress test 2 approved, your head is already wrapped around how you do everything. You just got through building it. That's when we go how you do your step-by-step instructions. Okay. So when you get to step 4 or stress test 4, all you got to do is go back to stress test 2, grab that information, add it to Colaberry. So it's going to be a lot quicker. Okay. A little bit more time on the front end, but it's going to save a lot of time on the back end. And with this new process, with every project having a step-by-step instruction, that means that as you come in and you look at these different projects, you're not only understanding the experience of what they went through, but you also understand how to build it. And that is going to continue to speed up the process. So with that being said, I'm trying to tell you guys that the power is all in your hands, okay? The process has been set up for you guys to get through it fast. But if you go with your traditional way of thinking, you're going to go through it slower. You got to follow my instructions, and then you have all of the pieces to get through it a lot faster, but you got to do the work on your end. I can't go through other projects for you and speed it up. Okay? I'm going to continue to critique once every day. Sometimes I take a day off. Okay? So it may be 2 days. But you guys shouldn't be like, oh, Ali needs to teach me all these lessons. I'm waiting on Ali. Okay, while you waiting on me, go ahead and educate yourself. All right, enhance your learning by days, weeks, months. You can't get that with my critiques. My critiques are slow. You go in and read through 5 to 10 other projects, exponential growth. I can't give you exponential growth. I can just give you a critique every 1 or 2 days. But you take, I can promise you guys though, you guys all make the same mistakes. The same thing that you're doing is the same thing that 20 other people have done. And if you go read through enough projects, you'll start to recognize the patterns just like I do when I critique your projects. I look at your project, all I see is problem 1, problem 2, problem 3. They just all jump out at me because I recognize the patterns. If you guys learn to recognize the patterns, then you will automatically start to see what not to do, how things should be, how things should look, how things should stand out. Those things will start coming more natural with the more projects that you go through, right? How do you gain experience? You gain experience through multiple projects. So now we're giving you multiple projects, but in an exponential manner, so you can recognize all of the patterns quickly. And then once you recognize what not to do, then what you should do starts to stand out. Okay? And when you get to that point where you can look at a dashboard and see, oh, fix that, this doesn't need to be here, this needs to be here, oh, you need to look at this like this. When you get to that point, guess what? You're ready for the field. You're ready for the field at that point. But don't think you can go through one project and then like you're ready for the field. You're not ready for the field. You haven't seen much. You've seen one project. But if you've seen 10 to 15 projects, your knowledge level goes through the roof, but it's through multiple projects, not one project. Okay, so if you guys take my advice, boom, okay, you'll learn so much through those critiques. All right, so I want to see you guys start leading the way. Do that. Trust me, it works. And I can prove it. When you guys start knocking out your projects in a shorter time span, I can go look on this report and see, okay, all the projects coming through are less than 20 days. Right now it's at 30. Me and Kofi need to monitor that KPI and make sure that we're tracking it through time so that number continues to go down. It takes people an average of 30 days now. If you guys start looking at the projects, going through different projects, if that becomes a pattern, guess what? That number, that KPI is going to start going down. Next thing you know, it's taking 25 days. Next thing you know, it's taking an average of 20 days. Next thing you know, it's taking 10 days, right? And then you got people coming through in 1 month, knocking out an entire project. How? Because they're reverse engineering and they're getting multitude of project experience, which is what you would do normally on a job. When you go into a job, you work on a project, you get a little bit smarter, you work on another project, you get a little bit smarter, and then pretty soon you got enough projects under your back where you've seen all of these scenarios. Well, what we've done is we've compacted that in the center of excellence so you can get what creates you experience in the real world. You can get it at an exponential level in the center of excellence. That's how the system's been designed, okay? So take advantage of it. Looking at me as the bad guy. Ali take it all day on our project. I know Kofi tell me y'all complain to him all the time. Ali did critique my project. I get it, guys, but I'm telling you, change your thinking up because we're playing chess. And I've designed a system to get you through faster than what you think. You just got to follow it. Okay? All right, guys, I'm out.